Hello everybody and welcome back to LMM. And if you're enjoying what you're seeing on the channel at the moment, how about giving this video a like and maybe subscribing to the channel to help us grow and perhaps even check out our Patreon. Today we're going to be answering 3 fundamental questions that have plagued mankind since its very beginnings. Number 1, can something really be too good to be true? Number 2, can you have a functioning steam engine made out of plastic? And thirdly, just how sketchy is this? Yep, it's another model steam engine that's been sent to me by my friends across the sea. And this one, yep, we can answer the third one. This is proper sketchy. Oh my days. This may be the worst one yet. It is a kit that comes with all these accessories on the back of it, and most interestingly, it says in 5 seconds, your child will be amazed with science. The thing that interests me most is it says here, tested according to international standards. And I can tell you right now, without opening, that is a lie. Because there is no way in hell that comes to any kind of standards. Now, we've talked about this in previous videos when I've talked about illegal steam engines, which this is. But in order to be legal and be mass produced and sold in the UK, the USA and Europe, your steam engine must either come with a boiler certificate if it is a large scale model, or if it's a small model, it still must be fitted with a safety valve and a sight glass. Now this one clearly has neither, and what's terrifying me most is looking at this design, it appears to have a piece of rubber tubing with a bung in it, and that appears to be a safety valve. So that's great. This looks awful. My favourite part is this, where it says warning. It says choking hazards, doesn't mention flame burning or anything. So with that, let's open the box and see what this abomination is like. So here we go. We don't need that anymore. So we have a single plastic container full of stuff. So let's open up this and see just what it is. Well, right. Okay, this looks... Right, the first off, that's actually chunky. These are our cylinders which appear, let's see, are they indeed plastic? Yes, they are. Plastic steam cylinder, plastic steam piston. I've never ever come across this. So let's start off with our normal favourite, which is the instruction manual. Now this is multiple pages. Cool. Okay. None of this is in English. None of this is in English at all. Right. Well, that's a good start of a product that has absolutely no English whatsoever. All right. Okay. Fine. This is I might need the help of Google Translate on this one. There are some warnings. There's also something about steam train jet engines and different... I'm going to have to translate all this, Gubbins. I've got absolutely no idea. Oh my God, that's a boiler. Now, it does, however, come with a pipette that has an amount of water to put into it. However, if we look at this one, that is our burner, that is our boiler. This is going to contain far more energy in that than we can contain in this. Oh, and that's our 2 steam... Oh my, this is so janky. So we have... I don't know what PSI this is going to run at, but I hope really, really low, because this is awful. Oh. 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 It moves. It's... Oh no. I'm hoping, strongly hoping, that this is going to make no more steam than a kettle, because this is not a pressurized vessel. That's not something you should pressurize. So excuse me while I try and translate this, Gubbins, to work out what on earth I'm meant to be doing with it. I don't... I mean, there's lots of steps, but oh no, oh Why have you shipped me a product that has no English instructions? I've already complained previously about the instructions. What made you think that this was a good idea to send me this that has no instructions? Oh no.
Having used Google Lens to translate the product parts list, I wasn't really feeling any more reassured, but I couldn't help but marvel at the technology that was able to translate this and how it got things wrong, like the dynamo there being called a motor. And of course, this translation did confirm some of my fears.
Oh, sweet baby Jeebus. This component here is the safety valve, and it is, as I suspected, this goes into here like that. And it says you have to provide your own piece of string or thin wire to loop around that to then attach it to the thin piece of translucent steam pipe to catch it when it launches. So when it builds up too much pressure, it goes pop and flies out, and then, oh no! No, that's not legal. That's not right. That's just stupid. Oh, that's so it's just a piece pops into this like that, and then that sits there. I mean, let's be honest. Let's see. Apparently, to the diagram, it only sits in that much. So let's have a quick guess at how much pressure it's going to be to actually fire it off with. Oh, could you? Okay, lightheaded. It's more pressure than I could blow.
Feeling even more dubious about the whole thing, I turned to the instructions for a read-through, and that led me to one conclusion.
This is awful. So other things I've managed to glean from the instructions, I don't have everything I need to build this kit. I need to have a knife or a pair of cutters, a ruler, some string. There isn't any material for the burner, so I've got to get some material for the burner, or I'm just going to pinch one off one of my other engines.
Although the biggest problem was the boiler. This thing looked more like a tea candle than an actual boiler. Now, you will know what a boiler should look like. I've done enough steam engines on the channel. They should be somewhat substantial looking and certainly not flex when you squeeze it with your fingers.
This genuinely scares me. Of all the things I've been sent so far, this one actually sketches me out the most. This one I'm actually in two minds about lighting up. I can only assume it's such low pressure that if anything did happen, it's not going to go bang, it's just going...
My assumption is based on the fact that the silicone pipes just slide over the smooth fittings. There's no ridges nor any fitting to actually hold it on. It's just a push fit, which means it realistically can't hold much pressure. And as all the pipes are just push fit, it does make you wonder why bother with a safety valve at all, because it will just blow at any of these joints. They're all the same strength. Confused, I continued to consult the instructions on how to operate this thing.
The experiment lasts for about 15 minutes by adding about 8 times of reciprocation. Plug the safety valve as shown. What? So it doesn't tell me how much water I should put in, bar it shows a diagram of this being full of 3 millilitres. And 3 millilitres doesn't sound like an awful lot of water. So the real highlight of this is it says after 12 minutes operation, keep an eye to see if there is still steam coming out. If there's not, stop the experiment because you've run out of water. So there's no way of knowing how much water you've put into that. So you could boil it dry. Again, it's not going to pressurize because once it's boiled dry, there's no pressurization in, so it's not going to explode. But you could potentially weaken the metal and make it fatigue. So let's build it and find out. This next step is vital to make sure that these are adjusted to the correct tightness. We need the cylinder to have a good seal against the face, otherwise the engine won't run, but if we have this done up too tightly, the resistance will be too much and the engine won't run either, a la the steam car that I reviewed recently. That feels okay. We'll have to steam it and see. I cannot believe this is my main steam pipes. This is about as basic as it gets. Slightly more complicated because of the engine there, but as I've just put this filler on, which is going to be my filler, and believe it or not, the safety valve, we can now see if it will run. No, it will not. So that means it's time to tighten these up and see if we can get it a bit tighter. If we can get these to be a solid. Right, try again. Nope, not a thing. I suspect this is going to be a load of garbage.
And having tried to adjust the cylinders to no avail, eventually I gave up and carried on with the build.
So the build process of this wasn't actually as bad as I'd feared. Despite having no English instructions, they're well laid out and the diagrams work. The thing I particularly like about this is the fact that you can change your positions. You can have at 90 degrees, 120 degrees, right next door to each other. However, I thought maybe once I'd assembled this, I'd feel a bit more relaxed with it. I'd feel a bit more in tune with it as I'd put it together. Nope. No, I am just more sketched out. It is so horrendously plastic. Lots of you recall the other video I did of an engine that I wasn't best pleased with, and this one has a lot of the same problems. The lack of a safety valve, because that is definitely not a safety valve, the generally poor construction, but at least that one gave some kind of sense that it had some kind of quality. Low quality, but it had a structure, it was sound, whereas this... Steam engines should not be plastic. This is not only illegal, but of a low quality. At least that one, when I tested it, it ran, whereas this one does not yet. So I guess let's do this. Let's fire it up and see if it'll run, and I don't think it will.
The first thing I had to do was ready my burner, so fill it with some methylated spirits and then crate myself a wick out of some paper towel. Now, I really didn't like this. I thought this was proper jank, and in the end I just ripped the top off it to make it fit. I then got myself some distilled water so I could fill up my tiny boiler. It's worth noting as well that the bung, or safety valve, is actually harder to remove from the piece of silicone pipe than to just pull the silicone pipe off the fitting itself, but I need the fitting to be able to put water into the boiler, which comes to the next problem. As mentioned, it doesn't tell me how much water to put in there, and 3 millilitres doesn't seem enough, so I repeated the process 4 times to have about 12 millilitres in there, and lit my fire, and just hoped.
The plus side is, tiny boiler, so it comes around really quickly. This is kind of the thing that I can see you making at home, and you could get away with it, because obviously at home it needs no certification for your own enjoyment. It's only when you start taking something and you start producing it commercially to sell it, it needs to meet certain standards. The other really big problem with this is there's no really good place to start the motion, because there's nothing... Oh, I don't like it. It comes around very quickly.
And as you can see, it generates a huge amount of steam, which goes everywhere apart from where it's meant to. It just leaks from every conceivable place on the engine. In fact, the amount it's leaking basically counteracts the amount it's generating. This thing doesn't need a safety valve because it's basically not steam tight. And having accepted the fact that I was getting absolutely nowhere and this wasn't going to work, I decided that I'd have to tighten up the cylinders against the faces.
Well, that's what low pressure steam is.
Yes, as predicted, rather than launching the safety valve, when I brushed the steam pipe going to one of the cylinders, it was enough to make it let go. So the safety valve is now a loose steam pipe. And as it was coming out, it let me realise that it was exceedingly low pressure, a long way even from double digits. It was like being gently blown on. To try and get the thing to run, I tried tightening up the cylinders on the face.
Fine tuning of this is ridiculous. Come on, run. Oh, there we go.
Success was very exciting, rather unexpected, and completely baffling, because after its brief foray into the world of the living, the engine decided that it would no longer run. Nothing had changed, it just no longer would function, which was absolutely infuriating and rather confusing. It was so close to working, I figured if I just gently adjusted the tightness of the cylinders on the faces, it would make all the difference and it would run. I was wrong.
Why did I adjust it when it worked?
Why, indeed. Don't fix what isn't broken. Although this was broken from concept, I spent an age mucking around trying to get the thing to run again. And eventually...
Huh. It works. Actually works. I am astonished. I am absolutely flabbergasted that that works. I was all ready to put this down at being something utterly awful that doesn't do anything. And here it is running away. Right, so I'm just going to slide that right up and slide that right up to lock that in position. I am genuinely impressed. Not with the product, with myself for persevering and getting it to go. So things I can see that's happening is the steam feed pipe there is a slow... That would be that we're out of water again.
Okay, I have to be honest with you guys. Normally when I do this, I run the engine a few times to get a hang of how it works and to get enough shots of it. That there is the only time I got this thing to work, and I have steamed it now 5, 6, 7 times. That section there is the only time I actually got it to work. I steamed it again immediately after this, didn't change anything, and it would not run.
I don't really have the words to describe this apart from it's crap. It's utter crap. It just about limps into life. And it's not good. When it comes around, it's very, very tedious at best. The fact that I can see that pipe, which is my main steam feed, lifting off from the boiler, the fact that it comes off on the cylinders, and okay, it is horrendously low pressure. Like, the thing leaks like a sieve. The adjustment there is so fine. I'm sure there probably is a sweet spot somewhere in there where you can get it just right, and it won't leak too much, but still has enough pressure there to actually make it work. But I'm not going to get there. Maybe I need to put a rubber band on it, a la the steam car. It's just awful. Now, admittedly, this thing does only cost £22, or that's $29. However, save your money. Yes, I know it's drastically cheaper than some of the other engines that I've reviewed, including the Illegal and Dangerous video, but that one at least did work, whereas this one just doesn't. And I've tried so hard with it. I really wanted to give it the benefit of the doubt and to see it work and to show that it could work, because it's so close. It just doesn't, because it's 20 quid. It's cheap. It's cheap and nasty. It's awful. And it's so awful that I'm not even going to put the people who sent it to me in the video description or in the title, because frankly, I don't think you should buy it. If you want to, you can find it online, everywhere's got it, but don't. It's terrible. I don't think you're going to seriously hurt yourself on it, because the pipes have popped off on me now several times and you just get a gentle as the steam comes out. then it's just not a high pressure machine, but it's just rubbish. It's crap. Utter crap. Don't buy one. There is obviously no control over it whatsoever. When it does have steam, it will attempt to run. The coolest thing about it is you can change that, so you can try and maybe get it into a position that it wants to run in. It doesn't like anything up there, but around there it's better. I think if you were to put some more weight in the flywheel, maybe it would run. I think it's just all too light. That's why we have a nice metal flywheel, is to get enough inertia to carry the piston round until its next power stroke. Maybe they thought having two of them would allow that to work better, but then for that really they want to be completely opposed, not at 90 degrees. Some of the thought process behind it, like the way it went together, it's an enjoyable kit to build, isn't bad. It's just everything else. It's again one of these things that's been built by somebody who's got a vague idea of what a steam engine is and maybe how it should work, but has never actually seen one in real life. This boiler generates steam very quickly. I am concerned how flimsy it is. What's more concerning though is the safety valve never lifted. What did happen was this pipe came off, and it's come off at the cylinders a few times because there's no way to fit it. It's just push fit. It lets you know what tiny pressure it is. Regardless, this remains illegal and unable to be sold in the UK, Europe or the USA because it doesn't have a proper safety valve. There's no water gauge on it, even though it is extremely low pressure. I mean, we're talking barely more than atmospheric. In fact, when I blew through there to try and set the spring tension on this, I was giving significantly more air or more pressure than this boiler generates. Let me know in the comments below if there's anything you think I could do to make it run a bit better. Obviously, I could replace the boiler with one that actually generates and supplies a decent amount of steam at a higher pressure, and replace all of this rubbish with actual steam pipes. That might help. And, just throw it away and start again. It's so bad that I don't think after this video I'm ever going to attempt to steam it again. It doesn't look particularly pretty because it's all in this cheap looking plastic. It's just naff. It's naff and rubbish. Save your money, buy something better. In the instructions and on the box, it's meant to be an educational tool to teach you about steam engines. How is this going to be an educational tool when it doesn't actually work? And unless you understand steam engines, you won't understand how crucial this is because the instructions don't make it clear, and they're in Chinese. So most people who don't understand steam, this will never run for. And for those of us who have got a vague idea, that's about as good as it's going to get. It talks about putting some water in. It shows this being full, and that's 3 millilitres, so maybe 3.5 at best, and half a tank of fuel. Well, so far I've topped up the fuel once and I've run it 4 times in order to try and make it work, and had no success. So the volume of fuel in there way overpowers the amount of water that I put in there, and I've been putting in at least 12 millilitres a run. So with that, let me know in the comments below, would you spend £22 of your hard-earned money on this? I mean, it could be the base for doing something more exciting with, but probably not. And of course, let me know any other ways you think I could make it run better. Not that I think I'm going to steam it again. And with that, thank you all very much for watching. I hope that this has been educational and it will save you some money and you don't go out and buy one of these pieces of crap. Of course, let me know in the comments below. Have you been looking at one of these online and thought, is £22 too good to be true? Because it is. If you have enjoyed this one, how about clicking over there for the dangerous and illegal engine, which I hate to say it actually did function, or below it for the video on a proper little steam engine 101 with my Mamod. And apart from this thing, well, it doesn't even look good, does it? It's just plastic and it looks cheap and nasty because it is cheap and nasty. I might even just throw it away because, well, it is utter garbage.